So this is Holly's neighborhood. This was the last place she lived in Taos with her husband, Jeff.
This is where there was allegations that she was buried in the backyard.
She was the first person that you met in the office, and everybody knew Holly.
And remember, the friend came over, found the purse on the counter, found the cell phone charging by the bed.
Her husband got a job in Albuquerque.
Deborah called Holly's boss and said that her husband had gone out to the gorge and found her car.
The difference between her story and so many others is they recovered their body.
We had kind of almost done our own little bit of research as well, and there had been maybe no bodies that just vanished from the gorge.
Did you ever hear that Holly had disappeared for a few days in her 20s? She had taken out loans prior to her disappearing. Do you think there's any way that maybe a jealous lover or a jealous husband could have been upset after something was revealed?
Was she happy in the relationship or the marriage?
I think that she wasn't like 100% happy with it.
We do know that she expressed to her friends that she did not want to move to Albuquerque.
That's right.
So Jeff has kept all of her stuff. Has he gotten rid of anything?
I know he shredded a lot of stuff.
Mr. Jeffrey White still, accepted the offer to sell the house. This is all while Holly's missing, right?
Right. Well, people are actually doing searches for her.
Yes.
I just thought, well, she was probably kidnapped, taken. I never thought she'd leave me. I don't think she would. I mean, you know somebody after 25 years,
Did Holly ever mention any conversations or relationships she was having with somebody else other than her husband?
That was what we found out after she went missing. And there were really intimate conversations. And I love yous signing off.
There wasn't any forced entry. There wasn't any sign of maybe a struggle inside. So if she did leave with somebody, if somebody did something to Holly, she must have known who they were.
I actually set that polygraph up. We did it in Albuquerque.
It's just puzzling. One cannot help to think that this whole thing was possibly a setup, staged.
You think it was?
I don't have a body.
But if it was staged, there's only DNA of 2 people on that vehicle.
Hey everyone, I'm Crystal. I was a TV news reporter and anchor for more than 15 years, but there are some stories that just stick with you.
Wait, how many missing persons cases do you believe you have?
Every year, tens of thousands of people are listed as missing. So I called in the expertise of my longtime friend, retired detective, now private investigator Lewis.
There's no evidence behind that.
Together, we're diving into cases that sit untouched for years.
Like maybe they missed something and it may not have been him the whole time.
And hitting the road.
Farmington, here we come.
Along the way, we'll talk to those left behind.
She was wonderful. She was my older sister.
Something feels missing.
Just want her home.
Something's not right.
And to those who were part of the investigation.
I mean, the same dog found burnt remains.
All in hopes of uncovering new details.
He has never been interviewed by police.
That's the person that I think did it.
To give families some closure as we go beyond the case.
And 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Case. I'm Crystal. In this week's episode, we're diving deeper into the disappearance of Holly White. The woman from Taos, New Mexico was on the verge of a life-changing move. She went missing right before her going away party. Now, the last two people to have spoken with Holly were her husband and a friend from out of state. She disappeared sometime between May 5th and May 6th of 2016. In part 1, we spoke about Holly's car being found at the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge and the possible theory that she may have jumped. However, her body has never been recovered. That has us looking into other theories that that car being left behind was possibly staged. But who would have staged it? In this week's episode, we're going to be speaking with the private investigator who's been on this case from the beginning and from one of Holly's close friends. Our big question is, could Holly's secret life of other men have led to her disappearance? And what did her husband not do after her disappearance that has raised some eyebrows? If you've not seen part 1 of Holly's case, you can go watch that right now. If you have, get ready. Here's part 2.
Take me back to the nights we felt alive, picking up the pieces on a summer night. I didn't know that I would feel just like my heart's on fire whenever I'm with you. 'Cause we go back.
Because you can picture it. Her life being, a hard worker for all these years, married woman, leaving the job to relocate to Albuquerque. But underneath the surface of the water,
a lot of people didn't see all of the chaos that she could have been dealing with emotionally, mentally.
Right.
There was a lot going on in her life.
Right.
Did she decide this on her own? Did somebody stage this part of her story? What do you think happened to Holly?
I think one of the guys didn't like that she was leaving, and I think they probably did something.
One of the things that keeps going on in my head over and over is, why leave the keys in the center console?
By the time I got out there, 9, maybe 9, a little after 9, and there was a Native American woman that had set up her table next door to where the car was. So I talked with her, and she said, "Do you know whose car this is?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure." And she said, "This car was here at 6:15 this morning when I came." She was one of the vendors. And she said, "I was a little scared." And this woman said that the doors were unlocked and there were keys sitting on the console. So I called the state police. Intuitively, the way the car was parked and leaving the keys in the car did not add up to me, to someone who was desperate and was going to jump. The car was parked so carefully, perpendicular to the pavement. And if you were going to jump, I think you'd lock the car so that at least your husband or your estate would have the asset, because anyone could have come by and just picked up the car.
It's not adding up, the whole story. The whole picture.
It was just such a surprise and so shocking and so scary to have somebody missing from, my hometown. I'm a private investigator working for Holly's dad on Holly's case.
Tell me when you first learned about Holly's case.
Like everyone else in the area, I just became kind of obsessed with the case, and I started following everything I could on social media. I started, just everything I could find. I was just following the case. Everybody that I knew was talking about it. People were just shocked and just baffled. My family was talking about it. People were taking it really, really hard.
Tell me what you have learned so far in this investigation.
Well, the day before she disappeared, that would have been on a Thursday. She went to work just like normal. And actually, she went to work a little bit early that day. She was getting ready to move to Albuquerque. They were closing on the sale of their house. She left work around 5, like normal. She met with someone work related and spent some time with them getting ready for a show. I think she took a deposit, something like that. She went and picked up some fast food and got home, and she spoke with her neighbors for a little while, went inside the house, and nobody saw her leave the house after that. She spoke with her husband that evening about 8:30 that night. He called her. He was already living in Albuquerque, and so he had plans to come to Taos the following day for Holly's going away party. He said they were on the phone for about 10 minutes. It was quick. They laughed a little bit. He said they kind of joked around a little bit, really just talked about kind of the logistics of what was going to happen the following day. The only other person that I know of that she was in contact with that evening was a friend of hers from out of state that she played an online game with. And so they were playing that game, I guess, for a couple of hours. Holly's friend said that she was kind of quiet during their game, and about 10:30 that evening, she texted and said, sorry I'm so quiet. I'm really, really tired. I have a big day tomorrow. I'm going to bed.
So I found out a couple things. So apparently she was really, really crying all day long. And her boss said that it was more than just, I'm sad, I'm leaving, I have to move, and crying. She said she was almost acting like she was paranoid about something. And then Wednesday night I talked to her, and that's the night that she said she had a horrible day, and she did say, I'm so stressed out.
Wednesday night into Thursday morning, the neighbor across the street reported seeing a vehicle parked at Holly's house. And then they saw it again the next morning when they left to work.
That's when I noticed a black Solera with Colorado plates.
She does have family and friends that live in Colorado. But at this point, if it was someone she knew or that was close to the family, wouldn't they have come forward by now?
Definitely. And I have interviewed dozens of people in this case, so many family members and friends, and somebody would have come forward and said, hey, I was passing through, or, I stopped in, something. So that's definitely seems kind of strange.
Do you think Holly jumped?
This case has taken so many twists and turns through the years that nothing would surprise me, honestly. And I don't want to rule that out completely. But if you look at the facts, you look at statistics, I don't think she jumped. I think that's the least likely scenario.
Let's talk about the other possible scenario, that something happened, somebody else played a role in this, and they staged it all. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think that's definitely a possibility. So the other two scenarios that I've looked at is, one, foul play, that someone else was involved. The other possible scenario is that, Holly herself staged all of this and decided to just disappear on her own.
There's a lot of information that surround the first theory here that she possibly just ran away.
And we came across several reasons why. I think the first one we should talk about is that she's done it before.
Did you ever hear that Holly had disappeared in her 20s because of possible embezzlement from a previous company that she worked for, and that her husband Jeff had talked her into coming back?
I had heard about the embezzlement. I didn't know that she had disappeared, no.
And when she was questioned about it, she stated it was to buy her husband a gift, an expensive gift.
Right. They allowed her to pay that money back, though, so the charges were never followed through all the way. This theory popped up again, though, so much so that her current employer also looked into their finance books, and we do know this because it was stated several times in the documents. Was there any indication that something like that was happening at TCA?
That's a real good question. I don't know if it was not that Friday, but the following Monday and or Tuesday, Deborah, my executive director, she and I both worked on contacting our banks, and I think we had some other funds. I can't remember the name of the place. It wasn't a bank, but it was like an investment thing that Taos Center for the Arts had, and we investigated all of that, and everything was fine.
Everything was accounted for?
Everything was there.
Okay.
Nothing ended up being missing.
Even though the embezzlement theory is completely squashed, we also know that the investigator who was hired by her dad did tell detectives she had taken out loans prior to her disappearing, and she also had taken out money from her life insurance policy.
Right, she had made some withdrawals from her policy, and there were large amounts according to the investigator.
Everyone that I've spoken to says that Holly was so kind and so loving, and they just could not imagine a scenario where she would leave her family, where she would leave her dog, where she would never speak to her 80-year-old dad again. There's no sign that she has been on the internet at all since, May of 2016. So, that really does kind of lead you away from the idea that she decided to just leave on her own. The more things that you rule out, you're really just left with foul play. You're left with, an accident.
Second theory, though, that almost goes hand in hand with this.
She was having communication with other men other than her husband.
Did Holly ever mention any conversations or relationships she was having with somebody else other than her husband?
Holly, no, she didn't. She did not, but that was what we found out after she went missing.
How did you find out?
I had access to Holly's work email because that was how we did it. I didn't have my own email yet, and I needed to have hers. When she went missing, I knew she had a personal email account, so I found correspondence with, there were a few emails to her husband, but they were, I want to set up a doctor's appointment for you, are you available on Wednesday, whatever. They were all just kind of, but there were very intimate back and forths of a sexual nature, photographs.
With other people other than her husband?
Yes, yeah. And more than one person, photographs that she had taken of herself and sent. But one in particular went beyond, and there were really intimate conversations. And I love yous signing off at the end
Do you know if police ever got a hold of that person she was emailing?
Yeah, I heard that they got a hold of him, and I don't remember if he lived in Texas or in Arizona, but it wasn't in New Mexico.
After her 40th birthday, we always took a girls' trip, and we went to Colorado. And she told me about a guy that she had met, and she met him online, and they drove. She met him in Los Alamos, but then they drove to Albuquerque. And when she was telling me the story, because she kept going on about how he was really, really wealthy, and that he got like the nicest place in Albuquerque, and that he owned his own plane.
According to her friend, this gentleman owned an airplane, right? Very wealthy man, but we don't have any information on him.
No, and we don't know for sure if they actually met up. We don't have concrete evidence of that. We also don't have any concrete evidence as to what happened after she disappeared, if he was even investigated by police.
Or questioned.
Or questioned by police.
Right.
Because the only people we know that were questioned by police were her friends, her coworkers, and her relatives. So this is Holly's neighborhood. This was the last place she lived in Taos with her husband, Jeff.
This is where there was allegations that she was buried in the backyard.
There was another neighbor that also spoke to police as well. And she told law enforcement that she thought Holly could be right behind her own home, that she could be buried back there.
And remember, in the report, law enforcement came in, checked the area. They did find some disturbed ground as if it was fresh. They sort of scratched the surface, and then they stopped. Did they miss an opportunity?
They might have. If you look how large the backyard is, just because that's the one area that doesn't have vegetation doesn't mean that something else didn't happen. Would have been nice to have had canines out here. Do you think she was happy with her husband, Jeff?
She never expressed that she wasn't to me, and like I said, we were like sisters.
Did she ever mention anything to you about when there was a decision to move to Albuquerque?
Well, the job that she had the interview for was a dentist that would, I think it was cleft palates, I think, or was it anyway, fixing children that have, a deformity or something wrong with their mouth. And so she was really excited about that because it was a 9 to 5 with benefits and good pay, but was doing something that was helping. And so she was really excited about that.
So it looked as if she wasn't planning on ending any of her, either, her move to Albuquerque or her life with her husband. She had other aspirations.
She was excited, because, this is a very small town. Love Taos. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But there's not, there's a ton of stuff to do outside, but there's no shopping. There's no, there is a ton of restaurants, but when you've lived here as long as we have, it's like, oh, God. Yeah, she seemed very excited. She was sad, too, because, friends and, like I said, worked at that place for so long and had such a connection, and she knew everybody in town. Everybody in town knew her. Everybody loved her. And, yeah, so there's, just like any change, right? But the other thing that I thought was interesting was there was buffalo grass in the passenger floorboard. It looks almost like a sickle, and it's furry. And her car was always immaculate.
Did you hear of law enforcement ever looking into the grass?
I don't know if they even paid attention to me saying that. I didn't hear that they ever did. But I said that's unusual for her to have something in her floorboard.
What do you think about the revelation of Holly's life after she disappeared? That there were messages between her and other men, that she appeared to have another life.
Jeff thought I would know, and I was like, I had no clue. And, she would evidently go out of town, and she always had a story, and it was always made sense of whatever it was that she was doing, whatever she would tell me she was doing. And, there was never any indication that other side of her life to me, to anybody that I knew that knew her. Everybody was shocked.
Including Jeff?
Yes.
Do you think he had any indication that any of that was going on?
If he did, I'd be surprised. But he's a very different personality. So I don't know if he'd show it if he did.
A lot of family members and friends have told us that. We've heard it from several people that he really didn't help that much with the searches.
So by the time I came on board, all of the searches had already taken place and the flyers were up, and they had already had the vigils, and the TV people had come and gone, and so I wasn't involved in the early searches. I came through years later and did my own searches, but at the beginning, those first few searches that were done, I was told Jeff did not participate at all. Jeff didn't go to any of the searches, and I asked him, why didn't you do that? And he said, I didn't go to the gorge to any of the searches because I knew she wasn't there. Yeah. So he said Holly didn't jump. He was sure she wasn't there. But her dad was in Taos, has been in Taos off and on through the years, and covers the entire town with flyers. There was a time that he came up in his RV and was in Taos for weeks, and he hung up something like close to 400 flyers, and here's her 80-year-old dad doing this. And Jeff, to my knowledge, never hung up a poster.
Do you know if they did either a cell phone log or a ping or triangulation of her cell phone?
They didn't, and I actually, tried to initiate all of this when I came on, 6 months later, and I was actually really surprised that the state police hadn't already done that, that they didn't even try to do that. My understanding when I spoke with the carrier is that you actually have to have the phone on, and it actually has to be an active account. And Holly's husband disconnected Holly's phone pretty shortly after she disappeared. And so my understanding is that, once that happened, there was no way for them to triangulate her phone.
So Jeff has kept all of her stuff. Has he gotten rid of anything?
I know he shredded a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Just anything that he found in the office, even regarding like loans she had taken out or credit cards she had taken out, and I think just everything. I think all the way back until like 2010 or something.
So not like pictures, stuff like that? He hasn't gotten rid of any of her personals?
Well, the strange thing to me, but again, Jeff's a strange guy. Like almost right away after she went missing, he and it could have been because of the move and all that, because he was going to have issues without her being around. He needed his name on to be the main thing. But he took her off of everything, like the lighting bill and the gas and the electric and just everything. And he even shut down her phone. If it had been me and my husband went missing, I would keep that phone on. I would want to know who's calling, especially if she's missing.
How was their relationship? Was she happy in the relationship or the marriage?
I think that she wasn't 100% happy with it.
So I discovered some court records that were filed in the Taos District Court. So at the end of May, and actually it's May 31st of 2016, Jeffrey White applied with the court to make him sort of the representative of the decision making for the sale of the house, because he listed Holly as missing. Holly went missing on May 6th. On May 19th, we have a new offer on the house. On May 20th, Mr. Jeffrey White still, accepted the offer to sell the house. And, he states on here that, he moved to Albuquerque, he's paying rent on the lease, and he can't afford the house, and he can't afford the rental as well, and that if he didn't get appointed to actually make these decisions to sell the house, that the house was going to go into foreclosure and he was going to lose some money. This is all while Holly's missing, right?
Well, people are actually doing searches for her.
Yes.
I've been working on the case for almost 8 years, and I had a lot of dealings with Jeff, a lot of interactions with him, and he's been great with me. He has been very open. He has given me everything that I've asked for. He's been very forthcoming with documents, anything like that, which has been wonderful. But it does make you wonder, why would you just not be there? Why would you not show up? Why would you, there's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to Jeff, for sure. And again, I wasn't there, so I'm going by what people have told me.
Do you think it was because that's when he found out that she was talking with other men?
I think it could have been. He could have been just really mad. He was probably hurt.
I just thought, she was probably kidnapped, taken. I never thought she'd leave me. I don't think she would. I mean, you know somebody after 25 years,
So you thought there was foul play?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they came back to straighten up and put her purse back and her phone back.
What would be the reason for that?
I don't know. Probably she got involved with somebody.
How about after you were told about marital affairs and stuff like that? What was your thought then? What did you
Alleged affairs?
Or alleged affairs?
Well, I know she was talking a lot on, to guys, texting them a lot. But the PI said there was no indication of her actually meeting anybody at all. I thought it was really out of character for her to do that. I thought it was somebody else, and this isn't my wife, I just didn't know what to think.
Had she ever talked to you or mentioned suicide or anything like that?
No, just like I said, she was excited about going to Albuquerque. That's why I got the job there, because I didn't want to leave Taos. I love Taos. But she wanted to come to Albuquerque, and I go, well, okay, I'll start a job, and then you can come when we sell the house. And we had it sold, and the week before we moved, she's gone.
Because speaking with other people, they mentioned that she wasn't too excited about the move.
As far as I'm concerned, she was all excited about it.
You know, the other thing with Jeff is that he passed a polygraph, and I actually set that polygraph up. We did it in Albuquerque. The polygraph itself was pretty quick, but the polygraph examiner spent a couple of hours with Jeff, and this guy's amazing. I mean, he's got really amazing training. Some people call him a human lie detector. And so just with the time that he spent with Jeff, he really, really felt like Jeff had nothing to do with us.
What happened to Holly? And somebody knows. There is no way that she completely just disappeared and nobody knows a thing. There wasn't any forced entry. There wasn't any sign of maybe a struggle inside. So if she did leave with somebody, if somebody did something to Holly, she must have known who they were. If she was going off to start a new life, would she leave her phone and her purse behind?
I don't think so. I don't think so. That's one of the biggest things, you know, and she had medication and the medication was in there, you know, I don't think so.
If she would have decided that she wanted to take her life that day.
I just, you know, her not having the phone and the purse with her is my big red light.
She likely would have wanted to cover up things before.
Exactly.
Somebody took her, you know, someone killed her, someone kidnapped her, and left the car at the bridge as maybe a decoy.
But if it was staged, there's only DNA of 2 people on that vehicle.
Hers and Jeff, her husband. That's it.
What do you think happened to Holly?
I think one of the guys didn't like that she was leaving and went to see her, because you said, you know, you heard that the neighbors said that there was a car there the night before, and, you know, I think they didn't want her to leave, and maybe it got, you know, maybe it wasn't planned, I don't know, maybe it was, but I think they probably did something, or it was an accident and they covered it up.
I think that's a big thing for us to do. I think we should focus on this task next, to find the man that she was communicating with. Hopefully somebody will reach out to us and give us a clue.